What's up guys, my name is Ace, and with Season 1 of Modern Warfare, Crash is back. But they have changed it a decent amount from the original Crash. This isn't the typical remaster that we see, where they basically just update the textures or maybe change the look of the map while keeping all of the same lines of sight and jump spots, for instance. There's actually a lot of changes with this map, and today I wanted to go through and share my thoughts on each one of these major changes, as well as I'm going to combine this into my Maps Exposed series, where I just show off a bunch of lines of sight and jump spots that you might not have known to help you get around the map more effectively. So hopping into the map, the first big change, this is the major one that most people notice first, is this entire area right here. In the old Crash, this didn't exist at all. You had to go through that building to get around to that area, but now you can come here and you've got this excellent piece of cover right here. And this was presumably added to challenge the people that will be on that piece of cover over there. As for my thoughts on this particular change, I'm not a fan of. I don't like this one. And don't get me wrong, I am open to the idea of making adjustments to old maps for new games. If there's a good reason to do it, and if it makes sense for the map, I'm totally up for that. But that particular area right there, I don't think was necessary to counter this spot, because this spot already had plenty of counters. All of those lines of sight up there could counter this, that window could counter this, anybody coming through there could. There's also a little bit of a head glitch spot right there. You can jump up on the helicopter and get a line of sight over here. This spot didn't need another counter in my opinion, and this just makes it so coming through this area is that much more dangerous, and it will discourage movement that much more. I'm a lot more hesitant now to jump over this and push this way towards that area, because at any moment somebody's head could just suddenly pop up from right there and pick me off on top of all the other spots that they could already pick me off from. So that particular area there, I just don't like. And another thing is the doors. They have added doors everywhere, all over this map. And I'm not a big fan of that either, honestly. I don't really like how many doors they added. I would have been okay if they added the odd door here or there, but it seems like they just threw doors everywhere. And that means navigating the map quietly is just not going to happen in most situations. So not really a big fan of the doors. However, like I said, I'm not opposed to all changes. Another change they made is this whole area right here. This didn't exist in the old Crash map, and this acts as an excellent area for spawn relief, so I actually don't mind this change at all. Also, while we're back here, I just wanted to point out a line of sight that you can have, and this will be to the 3-story building. I guess it's from over in this area right here. If you jump up on the TVs, you get a great line of sight into the top of the 3-story, and I think that's great. The more counters to that spot, the better, in my opinion, and this is something that didn't exist in COD 4. Also from here, nice little jump spot that I kind of like is you can jump on the TVs, jump on the wall, and then jump up on the balcony to get up into this area here. And again, I really like that particular change. That's something that didn't exist in the original, and it's a great way to challenge people that might be camping up in that area. Now, getting into the top of the building right here, I just wanted to point out one little line of sight that is new to this map is right through there. You actually get a great line of sight on the people that like to camp on that area. And I think this is a great line of sight because people often get set up there and it makes it very difficult for your team to push through that area. And they don't typically see you through this area right here. Another thing is this building right here was opened up. This you couldn't do in the original Crash. So with this allows you just another way to approach the situation a little more carefully, because before you get stuck in this choke point and it would be really difficult to pass through this. So this just gives you another option for getting around and getting in towards this area. And again, that's a change that I actually kind of like. I see a really good purpose for that change, and I think it makes sense for this map. Now, while we're over here, you can jump up on these barrels and use this to look over top of this way if you have somebody that's just like leaning on this edge, just camping you out in this choke point and not allowing you through. It's a great way to challenge those people, and they won't expect that in most situations, and this is something you couldn't do in the original. Now, coming from this area right here, this is something that's new to this map. You can actually jump onto this area right here and up into the window, which is really nice. I quite like that. Also from here, just a little bit of a faster way instead of coming up the stairs and going all around to get up towards this window. Something that you couldn't do very easily, at least in the original Crash. You can just hop on the vending machines and then hop up like that. It's much quicker to get up here. Another thing to point out in this blue building here is a little line of sight that you can get on the top of the 3-story. And that's if you come all the way back here and just jump up into the window area there. And there you go. Nice little line of sight on at least a portion of the top of the 3rd story. And they don't typically expect this one. Also from this window, if you jump up this way, it gives you a nice little alternative line of sight into that window there, as well as just the edge of that area that enemies tend to camp on right there. Now, getting into the mid-map area, if you have enemies up in those windows just camping it up, which they often are, you can just hop up on the helicopter right here, and this gives you a nice line of sight in towards those windows, and it's just a much better way of challenging them than trying to do it out in the open like this. Now, over in this area here, if you want to get a line of sight into the back alley right in that area there, what you can do is just hop up on top of this, and when you stand up right here, there you go. Great little line of sight into the back area there. However, keep in mind, this isn't the safest position to be doing that in. It's not an area you want to be lingering, because people can just come up right here and pick you off really easily, and your whole body will be exposed to them. Now, over in this area here, in the old Crash, there was no way of jumping up over this wall because you couldn't jump on this trash can, but now you can, and then you can jump across to here and get yourself over the wall, which is a nice alternative instead of being forced into that choke point in that building, and I actually quite like that. And another thing you can do that a lot of people don't know yet is if you jump right in that corner, you can actually mantle up onto this area. It does take a little bit of work to get used to. You have to practice it a bit, but you can actually jump directly up like that without having to jump on the trash can first. It only works in that spot, though. You can't normally just jump up onto this wall. Now, getting to the top of the 3-story building, first off, they closed this area off. Normally, you could go all the way around this. Now you've just got a nice little corner that you can sit in here, which I don't really understand the purpose of that. I think that's just going to encourage people to just camp in this area and only have to worry about one direction. And I don't think that's great. At least before, you could maybe try and juke them out and sneak around behind them, but not anymore. Also, they added this plant right here, which is, I don't know, a little powerful because you can hop up on top of it right here, and that gives you an excellent line of sight that we didn't have in the original Crash onto that top building area right there. Now, getting down in this area here, they made some adjustments. There is no longer a sheet metal wall right here, and this opens it up to that entire building. Before, you could like sneak your way up here, get behind the sheet metal, and get some cover from those people, and you can no longer do that. And that's another change that I'm not really a big fan of. I think that's just going to discourage movement. It's going to discourage people from trying to push into that area, and it's going to make that position much more powerful than it already is. Now, getting back into the corner of the map over here into that building, one little jump spot that I really like that they added, this was not in the original Crash, is you can actually just jump up this way onto the trash can, onto the wall, and then up in the window. And there you go. That gives you a different way to get up into this building, whereas before, if I remember correctly, you could maybe jump from there, but you couldn't get up using the wall into the window. So it's just another way to get up here, which is great because people love camping back in here. Now, from the second story, I just wanted to point out they broke this area of the wall here, and this is significant because it gives you a nice extra line of sight on the top of the 3-story, which again, the more lines of sight to the top of that 3-story, the better in my opinion, because it is a pretty powerful position on the map. So it's nice that we can keep those people on their toes. You could technically do this in the original COD 4 as well if you backed up in the room just right, but this is a much better way of handling those people. Also, towards the back of the map, they just extended this area a little bit further. I'm not too sure why they made this change. They just made another safe space, I guess, back here for people to camp or call in streaks or something. I don't really know, but normally it wasn't that far back. Now, over in this area here, people love camping up in this building here, and they might have a claymore or something set up at the top of the ladder because that's normally where you'd have to be coming from. But just an alternative for you is you can easily just jump towards this wall. There are several ways you can get on top of this wall. You could use that barrel, this truck. You could jump on top of that and then that wall and then across to here. But either way, just wanted to point out that you can get up this way as well. Now, something to keep a lookout for, this isn't new with this map. This was in the original Crash as well, is people that jump across to this area right here. Sometimes they'll sit up here and just wait for you. They're very exposed up here, so it's not a very smart position to be in, but just be aware that people can get up here, and they will get up here. Now, getting back to this area here, most people know that you can hop up on these barrels, and that gives you a nice line of sight to that area right there. That's pretty obvious. The better spot that a lot of people aren't really aware of, and this was in the original Crash as well, is jumping on top of this barrel instead. This allows you to control just how much of yourself you want to expose to those enemy players that are coming through there, and I just find it to be a much better spot because it's not nearly as predictable, and it's also very easy to get to and very easy to drop off of. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of Maps Exposed, as well as my thoughts on a lot of the changes that they made to this map. Like I said, not all of them were bad changes in my opinion, but at the same time, I don't really like what they did in certain areas, and I'm not really a big fan of what they did with the doors on this map. I feel like they added just too many of them, and it would have been nice to see maybe the odd carefully placed door here or there in some areas, rather than putting a door in basically every single doorway that exists on the map. But with that, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what's your opinion of the new version of Crash in Modern Warfare? Do you like the changes that they made in general, or are you not really a fan of them? Just let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.